Hello beautiful people, I'm DJ and welcome back to my channel DJ Cooks and Books. Today I'm going to be talking to you about two books that I have read recently in last 10 days roughly. One of them has the word bread in their name. That was Cursed Bread by Sophie Mackintosh, and that's why I wanted to bake a nice looking bread and like dramatically cut it and eat it, but I'm not feeling that well today. I'm feeling little tired and low energy, so I've just got a nice big iced coffee and I'm going to drink that. You should also get a drink and listen to me blabber about these books. Cheers. The first book that I want to talk to you about is I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Makkai. The main character is called Bodhi Kane or Kine, and she is a woman who works as a podcaster and as a professor of media studies. She went to this New England boarding school when she was younger for high school, and before that there were some traumatic events in her childhood that had made her life quite difficult, and she ended up in the high school. She wasn't feeling the best. She experienced some amount of racism, she experienced sexism as well, and misogyny when she was a high school student. Indecent boys and perverts were all amok, and it wasn't a great time. And she also lost one of her former roommates, Thalia, to a murder. She was drowned. Thalia was drowned, and the murder mystery case was something that was weighing heavily on the present day Bodhi's case, when she had to go back to her boarding school as a professor, this time for a little mini semester in winter, to teach podcasting and film studies. So when she goes back, she is teaching these few students who are Gen Z now, and they are quite on to their tasks of the class. The podcasting students are creating a podcast as a project for the class, and one of the students picks the subject of Thalia's murder case, and then we explore who could have done it. There was a black man working at the time in the school who was charged with the murder, but Bodhi believes that it might not be him. It might be another teacher or some student, someone else. And because the police wanted to hush the matter, or the school wanted to hush the matter, the scapegoat was this black man who might not be the real killer. And then we explore a lot of themes in this book about how women are treated. Even from a young age, they are treated quite horribly. And this woman Bodhi is obsessed with the genre true crime. She's easily triggered by the news of any women being assaulted, killed, etc., but she can't stop thinking about them. She's always thinking about these women who have been attacked and assaulted in different ways on the news, and her husband has to stop her from going on Twitter to look at any news when a new case of this kind of nature occurs. Her husband, who is she's separated from but not divorced from, gets into a Me Too kind of controversy, and then Bodhi is again in a very difficult situation. She's at this boarding school in New England in the woods, and her husband is back home taking care of her their two kids. And then she finds out this scandal or this controversy somebody is creating on Twitter. She wants to defend her husband. The woman that is alleging abuse towards her ex-husband, or like her separated husband, Bodhi's husband, was of age at the time. She was 21, but even if the person was a shitty boyfriend, it might not have been a power imbalance, because as the woman is accusing him of having more power at the time just because he was older. And Podi is kind of in this really difficult position. She's being called hypocrite for defending her husband, and she's at the same time obsessed with this murder case. Through the students podcast, she's collecting different information, she's revisiting her memories, and some of them are very painful, but she still keeps on thinking about the murder case, and she keeps on going through scenarios, imaginary scenarios, I think, that could have ended up in someone other than the black man killing the girl. And she imagines 4 or 5 other suspects, including herself. That is also a weird thing in the middle. Like, she's like suspecting her, she's doubting her memories, and obviously she's sure that she hasn't killed her roommate, ex-roommate, but she wants to suspect everybody. Bodhi then meets a few of her former classmates as the case is revisited in the court. She gathers enough evidence to maybe hope that the case might be revisited and the black person might get proved innocent. And a lot of things happen. She's thinking about her past and also her future, and she's also thinking about how the genre of true crime also fetishizes women sometimes who are murdered, these poor women. Sometimes the genre can be exploitative, but she can't stop making podcasts about women and women against whom these assaults have happened. And then everything, kind of the case goes on, and we have still some questions in the end to ask. I quite liked the book. Some critics have said that it is too long and Bodhi, the main character, seems like a hypocrite, but I enjoyed the reading experience. It didn't add anything new to the discourse of these books that I have read recently, a lot of them that tell about women and crime against women, but it was overall a good reading experience. It had like dark academia vibes, like secret history, and it also had a little bit of My Dark Vanessa vibe. They were not perfect, but this book managed to capture the good parts, or the essence of the good parts of those two books, and I like that part about this book. So if you like dark academia books, and if you like books written by women thinking about the condition of women in the society and crimes and the Me Too movement and society as a whole, you might like this. I give it 3.5 stars. The second book that I want to talk to you about is Cursed Bread by Sophie Mackintosh. I picked this book up on a whim because it was recently longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction of this year, and it seemed interesting from the synopsis. It's about a woman called Elodie. She's the village baker's wife in a small French village, and she's an outsider because her husband met her somewhere on his travels and then married her, and they came back to the village. So she is feeling, and she feels very neglected by her husband because after a few years of good marriage, he has started ignoring her. He doesn't have any desire for her. Elodie doesn't feel like she's being heard. She feels invisible. Nobody pays too much attention to her. And in the midst of her feeling like that, there comes this woman called Violet from somewhere else, and her husband, the ambassador, who is American, and they are enigmatic people that come out from outside, and apparently they are there for conducting some sort of survey or research and understanding the village people as a demographic, I think. And all the villagers are curious about them, they are gossiping about them, and Elodie especially is super curious, and that curiosity turns into obsession later on about Violet and her husband by extension. So I think Elodie kind of is in love with Violet. She is trying to invite herself into their home, and she tries to befriend Violet. She's quite desperate, and she offers her bread, but Violet does not eat the bread for some reason. Her husband forbids her, I think, and it's really weird. The book gets more unhinged unhinged as it progresses. Elodie starts like ruminating about what she could do to become Violet, because she's so obsessed with Violet that she wants to know what Violet is thinking constantly, and she's always thinking about Violet, and she's always thinking what she would like to tell Violet or say to Violet. And Violet is kind of cool, calm, collected, and she is friendly but not really super friendly with Elodie. And other villagers are not really happy with Violet because she seems like a really bold woman, and other villagers expect her to be a little more demure, and she's not. And she only talks to Elodie, it seems, from the village, and that also doesn't go down well with the villagers. And there are so many weird things in the middle, like there are so many weird sex things. Elodie dreams about having sex with her husband because her husband doesn't want to have sex with her. She dreams about having sex with Violet's husband because she wants to become Violet and wants to feel like how it feels to be Violet. It's crazy. I did not understand a lot of parts of this book, let me tell you. Let me confess, I was like left like really confused, and there is so much eroticism, erotic nature of writing in the middle. She's like just this author makes the bread making process sound so sensuous, and the sensuous role of wine also comes into play, like they are drinking wine and there is some sort of shady activity going on in the background the whole while. And suddenly like Elodie's like way of thinking, unhinged thinking, kind of starts manifesting in reality, and there are like dead horses in the village suddenly one day like cut up and their insides taken out, and it was like grotesque and reminded me a little bit of Lapwana. And then there is this random person out of town who comes and jumps into a bonfire. A lot of weird things are happening, and then everything crescendos into this one day when a lot of people get food poisoned through the bread. I think the ambassador is mixing some poison, or experimenting on the village. That was the intention the whole time, I think. And a lot of people start hallucinating these horrible things and die horrible deaths. Oh my god. And mostly at their own hands. They just like, one of the persons thinks that he's an aeroplane and he starts like just flings himself out of the window and dies or something. It was quite horrifying. And I was really shocked when I found out that this is based on a true incident that happened in 1951 in a small village called, I think, Mont Saint Espiritu in south of France. And till this day, the food poisoning reason or the root of the mystery has not been solved. So I'm like mind blown. And this author has taken it and fictionalized it in such a intense way. So I did not understand a lot of the parts, but I think it is an intelligently written book. I think you can tell that the writer is smart. Even though I'm not smart enough to understand the book like too well, but I quite enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. So I'd recommend it to you if you wanted to read something which has just vibes and no plot. You can give this a go. It's like a short read, I think 200 pages. So that was about the two books that I read recently. Let me know if you have read these two books, or one of these books, and what your thoughts are about these books. Let me know if you are curious about any of these two books, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Cheers.